everybody. So I'm back for my second video. My first one was introductory. This one is, I am going to go over stuff with you, and I made me a cheat sheet. So if I look down a lot, this is why. So I kind of stay on track this time. Last time I was a whole lot nervous, but this time I'm a little bit better. All right, so week 1, that's today. So what is a quilt top? For you that don't know, so you take all these little pieces of fabric, cut them up in different shapes, and you sew them all together, and you create a pattern with it. And there are so many patterns you can purchase out there. Simple patterns, easy patterns, you choose. If you're a beginner, you definitely want to start beginning. So I'm going to go over some different techniques of quilting. So no days hand stitching, that was it until they came out with sewing machines, and it was the treadle, but of course we have advanced. So we do straight line stitching. It's just setting your stitch to straight and just take off. You can do free motion. You can also do straight line and free motion on your domestic machine, and you can also do a free motion on a long arm, but that's getting further into it. On a long arm, I'm going to mention a little bit, but I'm not here to teach long arm. On a long arm, you can do free motion, you can do pantographs, you can do ruler work, edge to edge, and that's digital. It's all that's computerized. And then you get into the really deep stuff. It's custom quilting. So that's it on long arms, unless you have questions, and I can try to answer to the best of my ability. So some things you need to know. Cutting, you have certain tools you cut by. So you want your rotary blade and your self-healing mat. So here is some different size rotary blades. Different types, there's all kinds out there. Me, I personally get all mine from Becky's Sewing Center in Tazewell, Tennessee. Best fabric shop ever, guys, trust me. Has everything you can want. Notions, fabric, whatever you're into, she's got. All right, so that's the cutting blades. And you also will need a self-healing mat. Mats come in different sizes and shapes. I have small ones and I have large ones. So here's a small one, and you can flip it over. These do have different angle lines on them, 45, 90 degrees, and it is gridded. And you, so when you go to sewing, when you're doing quilting, basically all stitching, unless it costs for it in the pattern, does by 1/4 inch seam. And they do have 1/4 inch foots. Most sewing machines do. Or you can do a line on your sewing machine with a piece of tape and measure over 1/4 inch from your needle and draw you a line. There's ways around things. But this here is a 1/4 inch foot. See the little guide right there? So it lets you, with the needle, goes down in at a 1/4 inch. Best foot ever. And they also have one of the other feet you want to use, and I've laid it down somewhere, here it is a open toe foot. So this is so that you can see what you're stitching. And this just hooks to my machine, which I'm not going to get into that right now, but I'm just trying to give you all an idea what kind of feet to use. So these are the best 2 feet for quilting, but your 1/4 inch foot is the best. All right, so after you stitch your 1/4 inch, you want to press it. Not iron, you just open it up and press like that with the iron. And these little irons here, and I got this at Becky's Sewing Center, are the best. And you can also get the wool pressing mats. And it's good for at your workstation, right beside your sewing machine, to set it up, and you don't have to get up and down like I do. But hey, I can't sit still. So that's it for the iron. So some basic supplies is number one, you have to have fabric. All right. Second, you have to have a pattern you're going to go by, unless you can just make up your own, and some people do. You need your scissors, and me, I always have a pair of big scissors and little snipping scissors for the little threads, which my machine does have a automatic thread cutter. Some don't. It just depends on what you have. Then, like I just showed you, the rotary blades, and of course, you have to have the seam ripper. Everybody, this is your best friend right here, your seam ripper. And don't think you're the only one going to be using this. I still use these. Everybody uses these. And you're going to have a good ruler. I have several laid out here, but your best ruler to cut by is a clear gridded ruler. And I have one right here. As you can see the lines on it and the grids, and it's got this little, this is a hot pocket. I mean, not a hot pocket, but they go on cell phones. I can't remember the name of it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But the clear rulers are great. Then you have rulers. This is a Quilter Select. It has a coating on the back, so it don't slide on your fabric. If you're into cutting a lot of strips, there is this Stripology ruler. And you can see it has grids in it. And this is by Creative Grid. This is an awesome ruler. So you just put your rotary blade in there and you cut down the strips. And you can do it, it's by 1 1/2 up to 20 inches. Great ruler, guys. And you can purchase all this at Becky's Sewing Center. All right. And of course, you will need your sewing machine and thread of choice. I prefer a poly cotton blend. Cotton will shrink. The poly helps it from not doing that. And then, of course, you're going to need pins and clips. There's all different sizes out there. And you can buy pins anywhere, any fabric store. And then here I keep mine in a little container, and I also keep me a little pin cushion. So this is the handy thing right here. And back to rulers again, I keep this little clear one here at my sewing machine, because when I'm drawing lines on like half square triangles, which I will get into that too, this is great. The magic one is a must-have. If you are drawing from corner to corner on squares to make into half square triangles, this is the best ruler ever. So there is different kinds of fabric out there. Cotton is your best, and there is batiks. Batiks is awesome too. They don't shrink as much as cotton does, and a lot of people absolutely love batiks. So I'm gonna kind of go over some fabric with you. This is beginner, so you guys that know about this already, just be patient with me. Next week's gonna be better. So first I'm gonna start out with precuts. Precuts is where they are already cut out in the shapes for you. So I have some laid out here. I made myself a little box, if I didn't lose one, and I did. But the first one is a 2 1/2 little, it's called a mini charm. I've lost it somewhere, but anyway. Then your second one, this is called a charm pack. This is 5-inch squares. It comes in, I think this is 42 squares. And actually, this is what we're going to be starting our first project with, is a charm pack. So heads up, if you don't have one, please go to your local quilt store, or you can purchase online at Becky's Sewing Center. But this is what we're going to start our first project with. No pattern needed, just this, scissors, and a sewing machine. And you guys will do great, I promise. Then we have what you call a fat quarter. A fat quarter is 18 by 22 inches, so it's actually 1/4 of a yard. So you can purchase them at your local quilting store, and they come in different ways. They'll come like that, or they'll come rolled up, or they even come pre-packaged in a bundle. Next, we have what they call a jelly roll. And this is 42 2.5-inch strips. These is great for beginners also, because you can find so many patterns out there that is jelly roll friendly. You can find patterns out there that's fat quarter friendly. It's just what you want to get into. So, hey, play around and learn. No one's professional at this. We learn every day. Another little handy thing to have, especially when you're using the rulers to draw, is a erasable pen. It's a marking pen. They sell them in different colors. Some erase by water, some by heat. I love them because you can mark on it, then when you press it, it's gone. It was never there. And don't do me like on my first, using a permanent marker and then it's showing through on your quilt. Next, everybody's got to have these little notepads, okay? You take notes, you write down, especially when you're doing from section to section, you will label A, B, C, A1, A2, just whatever the pattern calls for. This way it helps you keep you organized, so it will stick, or you can pin it. All right, so a fat 8 is, where the fat quarter is 18 by 22, a fat 8, you don't hear it mentioned much, but it's 9 by 22 inches. Just a little heads up. And a yard is 36 inches. Half a yard is 18 inches. A quarter yard is 9 inches. If you can't remember all this and I'm going too fast, you can pause, go back, rewind this, watch it over again. So now I'm going to cover some common abbreviations. These is not all, trust me, there's lots out there, but I'm trying to cover some of the basic things that you would see in a pattern. First would be a BOM, block of the month, which I said block of the week we're going to do. I'm probably creating that one, I don't know, but you know, I want to do this weekly, not monthly. Keep you guys excited. Next is DSM. That stands for a domestic sewing machine. A FQ, fat quarter. Fat quarter. 9 by 22. Next is HST, and that stands for half square triangle. I should have had some of these laid out for you guys, but I'm still learning as I go. This one is very common. It's WOF. That is with a fabric. So you would open up your fabric. It's always folded if it's on the boat. And from selvage to selvage, that is your width of fabric. RST, right sides together. You will see that a lot in your pattern, because you always put your right sides together of your fabric, and then you do your 1/4 inch seam along the edge. WST, just the opposite. Wrong sides together. Hardly do that, but it is a thing. And of course, all our quilters' favorites, the UFOs. Unfinished objects. I've got plenty of them, and if you're going to be a quilter, trust me, you'll start a project, then guess what? Something else new comes along, you're going to try that. Well, you have an unfinished object, or sometimes we say project. So there is different ways of making a quilt. And basically a quilt is, you make blocks and you put all these blocks together and it makes a quilt. So making blocks, you take pieces, which is called piecing. There is also applique. That is where you take, if any of you ever seen a Dutch doll quilt, so you cut out the pieces, lay them down, and you go stitching around the outlines. So you use a blanket stitch, or you can use a zigzag, just whatever you want to use. There is foundation paper piecing. I don't do a lot of that, but I can, and I will for you guys. There is thread painting. A little bit more difficult. It's a back and forth motion on your sewing machine, or you can do free motion. Might not get into that much unless we really advance that far. Then you have quilt as you go. That's where you take a block, another block, you put it together with the batten underneath and the backing, and then when you're finished, you have a quilt. You got English paper piecing, and what that is, you take a template, put your fabric over it, cut it to shape as the template, and you fold it over and sew it, and then you take all those little pieces and sew them together. That's a lot of work, but it's fun. Then there is called trapunto, if I'm saying that right. It basically gives your pattern a 3D effect, like if you have, I did a baby quilt once, and in that quilt I had clouds in the background. So I would put batten underneath the cloud and then stitch it down with a blanket stitch, and it would look puffy. So that's what trapunto is. And then you have strip piecing. This is a good one, guys. So when we start the 5-inch squares, we are going to do piece piecing. You take your first two right sides together, sew it. You don't cut. Take your next two, sew. So when you get done, you have a whole chain of 5-inch squares. Then you go and snip, and then you just keep going from there. And I will teach you this as we go. So I'm going to cover some common terminology, and I promise not to keep you guys long. I don't want to bore you. This is, like I said, basically for beginners. I want to teach you. I taught myself, and I would have loved to have someone taught me. I probably would have picked up on it a lot faster. But it is my passion now, and I love it, and my girls can vouch for that. So, some of the common terminology is applique, which I mentioned. Backing, that is what you put on the back of your quilt. The batten, it is what I call the middle part of the quilt. It comes in different loft. Loft is the thickness of it. You have different types of batten. You have cotton, you have poly cotton, you have polyester. Excuse me. There is back stitching. Always when you start sewing, back stitch a little bit. It reinforces your stitch so it don't come out. Basting. Basting is what you would do around a quilt block to keep it from coming apart. I have, where I do long arm quilting, I have my customers quilt around, or base stitch around the whole quilt, and it keeps it from stretching when I put it on a long arm. It's great. Then there is bias. And trust me, you don't want to work on the bias, but sometimes we have to. Especially if you're doing scallop binding, you have to cut that on the bias. And binding, there's that word. That's the finished product, the end product of the quilt, and I will teach you guys how to bind. Love binding. Blocks. That is all of the blocks you put together to create that quilt. We're not going to start with a lot of big blocks at first, but we will get there. Your borders is what I call the outline of the quilt. I have my own terminology, but you guys will understand me. Chain piecing, I just went through that, where you just keep sewing, keep sewing, keep sewing until you get all your pieces sewed together, and then you snip them and go from there. Cornerstones. There is a difference between cornerstones and corner squares. Cornerstones join sashing. Sashing is the strips in between the blocks. So, and then you do a sash, a block, a sash. Trust me, it works out. A cornerstone is actually sewn at the top and the bottom of the quilt on the corners, the 4 corners. That is cornerstones. Your feed dogs, that is what is on your sewing machine. You will have a little lever on the back of your machine or on the side that puts your feed dogs up or down. You want them up on regular sewing. If you're doing applique with a walking foot, not a walking foot, but a darning foot, this is a free motion foot. And this little bar here catches on the bar on the sewing machine and it makes it go up and down. So we have finger pressing. So if I tell you just finger press it and just start your next one. So what you do is you take your seam and you would just kind of press it real hard with your finger. I will show you guys that later. We're just covering terminology right now. Interfacing, I use this a lot. I make a lot of t-shirt quilts, guys, and have to have interfacing. You don't have to, but trust me, it makes it a lot better at quilting. Mitered corners. This is something I will teach you also. Instead of coming together at your corners like this, you bring them together and they're folded. I will have one laid out next time for you guys. Notions. That's all these little gadgets I've been showing you. Your scissors, your rulers, your seam rippers. Any little gadget that helps you create your masterpiece, I'm going to say, is notions. Patchwork. It's when you sew square to square to square and you just create a quilt. You can do it in diagonals. You can just mix it, make it like stars and diamonds. So let me see. A sandwich. That is what some of us call, you put the sandwich together to make the quilt. So you will have your top, which is your quilt top, your batten, and then your backing. That makes a sandwich. And sometimes I tell my quilters, hey, we have to make a hamburger because you got your top, your bottom, and then your meats in the middle. The meat is as meaty as you want. That is your batten, so you can have it thin or you can have it thick. Everybody likes something different. And you guys seen what a seam ripper is. And of course, setting the seam. When I say set the seam, you take, if you sew two pieces together, you're going to open it up and you're going to press. And that sets your stitches. It sets your seam. Very important in quilt. And then you have a stitch in the ditch. So I will teach you guys this in our first project, how to stitch in the ditch. And that's exactly what it sounds like. You're stitching in the ditch. So that's pretty much covered what I wanted to go over today. So next week, like I said, we're going to start piecing. Please, if you guys have any comments, questions, please, I try to read every comment. I try to answer everyone. Right now I can, but if I get a little busier, hey, just keep sending me comments, and I promise I will try to get to you. So like I said, our next week's project we're going to do out of a charm pack. And again, a charm pack is a 5-inch square, 42 of them. We are going to start piecing these together. And as you can see, these come in all different colors. And you can lay it out on a flat platform, table, whatever you have. Line it up the way you want it to be in your quilt. And then we will label row 1, row 2, row 3, and it's going to be 6 across and 7 down to cover the 42 squares. If you want to add borders, we will. If not, I'm not going to the first time. But you're welcome. If you know how to do this, you're welcome to put borders on and make your quilt what you want it to be. So guys, remember to like, subscribe, and share my page. I'm doing this to help you all. I want you all to learn how to quilt. This is a wonderful passion. To me, it is my therapy. My baby joined the Navy, and I have been so lost without her. And this keeps me busy. It keeps my mind occupied. Stress, it's my stress reliever. So pray for me. Bless you all. And thank you for joining me. And see you next week.